All right. Here's the approach. So,
Cool.
a couple things here. Okay. There's two sides to this, right? So calling recommendations isn't a whole lot different than calling people. It's just essentially why you're calling them, right? So here are a couple things that I'd want to like talk about to make sure you guys understand this. I think a lot of people, when they're making calls, the biggest thing they don't do is, so when we talk about in training, talk about the communication process, right? There's three parts of the communication process. The words, which makes up 7%, 38% is tonality and voice inflection, and 55% is body language, right?
Yeah.
So you might be like, well, how do you have body language on the phone? There is actually body language on the phone, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Sure.
But the words really don't matter. It's more about how you're saying something. So it's like this, right? If I hand you a script and you're just like, oh, these are the words. I say these words. It's like, but if you don't know why you're saying it or how you're saying it or what the intention behind the words is, you won't get nearly as good of a result. So that's what we're going to do today is so you understand this, because I'm going to say it one way and you might say it differently. That doesn't mean it wouldn't work for you, but it's just a matter of understanding what you're trying to convey with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we do that, though, a couple things. If you go to phone tips, look, energy is important. That will help you get more appointments. It's that simple. So just have fun. Have fun on the phone. I think you should set a goal before you get on the phone, because then you have something you're aiming towards. Otherwise, like in archery or shooting a gun, right, whatever, there's always, what do you always aim at? Target, right, or bullseye. Otherwise, you're not just like, I'm going to just shoot stuff. I'm getting really good at shooting stuff.
Yeah.
Like a basketball, you don't just like throw it in the air and be like, dude, I played ball today. Like you clearly are making the shot or not, so have a target of what you're trying to do, right? Same with basketball. I always end on a swish. I won't stop shooting until I hit a swish. So same thing with making calls. You want to like end on a yes, right? Because if you don't end on a yes, it's going to be that much harder to get back on the phone next time if it was a negative experience, because that plays out in your mind. Do you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're getting 3 no's in a row, stop what you're doing, because you're doing something incorrectly, and call me, because you shouldn't have that happen. If someone like blows you off or hangs up, I can tell you right now it's because of your energy, so you want to stop that and like, let me get you in the right place. Okay. And then consistent phone effort really simply equals consistent bigger paychecks. Okay. If you're not making calls very often, your paychecks are not, they're going to be pretty sporadic based on your effort. So we want to make sure we can, what we want to do right here, the intention here is to kind of stabilize your paychecks so they look better and feel better, right? Because looking is really not, doesn't matter. It's how they make you feel is the important part. So here are some real simple things, must-dos. You got to smile when you dial. People can tell the difference. Again, they can't see you, but they can hear you when you're smiling versus when you're not smiling. Okay. Always offer a choice of 2 times. What I've noticed is a lot of reps forget this, right? I teach you in training 2 times, right? You go through your schedule ahead of time and you block off when you can do appointments. But for whatever reason, reps, right, after like the first week or 2, they forget this thing. Like they were like, I got this. They feel confident, right? Maybe overconfident that they got this because they've done 10 appointments. And then they stop doing the stuff I taught them in training, which is the biggest thing is scheduling appointments, going through their schedule and going, I can do this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. So before I make calls, it's 4 or 6, right? Versus like, when works for you? Like the same thing that didn't work in training is going to be the thing that doesn't work going forward, right? So always offer choice 2 times. Again, blocking the appointments off before you start calling. Be enthusiastic. And this is how you say something versus this is how you say something. If you have the attitude of like, I'm just doing this, like, I'm just seeing how this goes. No one wants to do an appointment with you if you're not excited about it, right? Which, again, what I think happens is in training, you're naturally excited because it's something new. But after like 2 weeks, you've been influenced by other people, and that might bring your energy down. So now you're like trying to be not too excited because you don't want to show emotion. Because when you show emotion, they can judge you. Versus like, yeah, I mean, I'm just doing this. Right? Versus be like, yeah, I'm doing this because I'm excited about it. Then they're like, oh, maybe I should be excited about it for you, right? People want to be excited, right? But very few things get people excited. Like very few people are walking around on a daily basis like excited about stuff. But you could be the exception, which isn't that a better way to live anyway?
Yeah.
Okay. Voice inflection on keywords. I'll show you what that looks like. Firm appointments with a happy. So you're gonna look. I'll show you how we do that. Firm appointments with a happy face and a penny, or a penny. Stress name drop, right? Stress the fact that whoever recommended you really liked the appointment, because it gives you social buy-in, right? No one wants to be first, no one wants to be last, but if everyone's doing it, they're more likely to want to do it, right? I think making calls in the office is a good idea because it's just easier to get stuff done in here versus getting stuff done at home, because again, I was terrible at making calls at home. I'm still bad to this day working from home. I have to go somewhere else or be a neutral site where it's like I don't get distracted with stuff. follow the approach. I would still read this thing basically word for word. Again, it's not even about the words, it's about the voice inflection.
Okay.
Don't
Chris,
yes.
What does firm up appointments with a happy face and a pen
I'll
mean?
show you what that looks like.
Oh,
in a
you
second.
will, okay.
Yes. So it's just, again, it's corny and cheesy, but it works really good. So at the end of so I'll give you kind of a preview. I'd say at the end of the appointment, I'd say, and one last thing, if you can just, again, write down my name. Okay, my name's Chris. I drive a black car, so when I show up, you'll know who it is. And I'll also be, if you want to draw a smiley face, because that's what I'll be wearing. So I'll see you there, right? And they do what you just did. They laugh a little bit, and then it's like, again, I want to, on the phone, I'm trying to set the tone for what the appointment's going to be like. So the sooner I can make someone laugh, the better that appointment's going to be, right? So I would have probably made them laugh before I do it 3 minutes into the call. I would try to do it immediately, and I'll show you how I would do that then. And a penny would just be like, I used to say, one last thing, I know this is going to sound weird, but if you could just tape a penny to the fridge, I promise I'll explain why when I get there. And when I'd say it, what was my face doing? I was smiling because it was playful. It wasn't like, I'll explain why when I get there. Because that'd be super weird, right? So again, that's my point though, right? It's all about voice inflection.
Yeah.
So things you want to avoid, I wouldn't talk about marketing and selling, and I hate that word knives because I think that's a mistake most people make. And I think when you're thinking about like, I sell knives, right? Like, you cannot be fired up about what you do, right? I would say instead of demonstration presentation, I would try to, instead of a demo and presentation, I would say appointment, right? It's simpler, right? I wouldn't set up appointments more than 3 days in advance. People have a tendency to cancel when you do that. If you're gonna make calls, get warmed up. It's not like if you were gonna go out and, if you were gonna sprint, you wouldn't just get out there and go. You would tear a hammy. Right. You would literally tear a hammy. So what's going to happen if you don't warm up is you're not going to like tear a hammy, but you will probably waste leads because you blew them because you were saying things that were just. And I've had calls like that, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not saying the right things. This is terrible. In my mind, I'm like, just say no already, so I can get off this train wreck of a call. So what I would do is I would role play the approach a couple times before I'd actually do it.
Sure.
Right? Or call. Well, you do that because the other option is call one of your worst people and warm up that way. But why waste a lead? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. So this is a little old school, but don't set down the receiver. Use your finger to hang up the phone. Now that actually work though, because if this is the problem with technology. When you turn off your phone, right, you have a tendency to like go on auto, or you go into habit, which habit is, I need to be stimulated, so I need to look at something on my phone, Facebook, Instagram, something versus make calls, right? So back in the day, we didn't have all that nonsense, right? So you had landlines. I think we might have we probably had a cell phone, right? But anyway, I would call from the office because if I have the phone here, then my other hand has to be, the phone is here in my hand has to be on the button. So I can't distract myself, right? Because my hands are here. So if I sat here like this for longer than 30 seconds, it's like, what are you doing? Because after a while you're like, dude, you're literally, what are you doing? So it was just way more efficient. So what I would say for you guys is maybe get headphones, right? And then plug your phone in, and then like just leave your phone down.
Yeah.
So it's just, you're not going into apps, you're just making calls.
Yeah.
I also think getting a call tracker makes a lot of sense, so you can track your progress, because a call tracker would be just like you tracking your phone calls, right? So there's someone in the other room where you go, anytime you make a call, you tally it, right? Someone doesn't answer, doesn't matter, you tally it, right? Someone answers, that's a different tally. It's total calls, it's people answered, and then it's people scheduled, so you can check your performance, right? So it's like, how many calls can I make in an hour if I just make calls? Well, it's going to vary if people are answering or not answering, right? But I think you can make 20 to 25 calls pretty easily in an hour. If you make 20 to 25 calls, so you can see like, how many people did I talk to? I talked to 8 people, right? But if you're like, I only scheduled 1, there's probably a hole in your game that we'd want to look at, right? Like, where is your hole? Is it, I'm not making enough calls, right? I'm like, I made 8 calls in an hour. You made 8 calls, and that's not calls. You made 8 calls, right? So is it lack of effort, right? Is it lack of a list? Or is it lack of conversion? Is it lack of saying the right things? Is it lack of handling objections? Those can tell us something, so I can go, okay, cool. You talked to 8 people, but you only scheduled 1. We got to work on what you're saying to them, because whatever you're saying is not efficient, right? Because if I got someone on the phone, I was probably going to schedule with them. Does that make sense? So that's why you want to track it, because then you're like, I know if I make calls for an hour, I'll schedule 3, because that's what my stats say. So if I want 10 appointments this week, that means I need to make roughly about 3 hours of calls. That's where call tracking makes sense versus like, I'm just gonna shoot for stuff. I don't know, appointments. It's pretty generic, right? Anyway, don't be afraid to ask for an immediate appointment, right? So let's say you're busy the rest of the week, and like, be like, hey, what are you doing now? If you need an appointment and you don't have time, like, it's not a bad thing, because it could actually happen, right? And if you're saying energetically, that might actually happen. Don't sell over the phone, right? The objective is to get the appointment. I already told you that, but I think wussy words sometimes happen because we're afraid of being rejected, so we try to buffer it as much as possible. Because if it's like, I need, like, right, so we say stuff like, would you be maybe interested if possibly, it's not a big deal. Like, don't wuss it up, just like ask something confidently, because people respond confidently. Right? If it's not a big deal to you, why would it be a big deal to them?
Yeah.
Right? Again, things to think about too, being nice doesn't change, but interest does. What that simply means is if you like ask someone, I hate when someone says on the phone, would you be interested? No, they would not be interested in doing an appointment with you. But would they be nice enough? Probably, because interest could change. Like, you know what, I looked at the product, not interested. I know when you look at pictures, you wouldn't be interested because you probably are price sensitive since you bought this wood handle stuff, and that's how you're used to buying it, right? I have a customer, I had someone yesterday, we were at dinner, and they found out that I work for Cutco. This is my girlfriend's friends, right? And they like looked up Cutco, they're like, wow, those are really expensive, right? And they're like, I don't know if we'd ever swing that. And then in the conversation 5 minutes later, they talked about how they're gonna buy 2 jet skis for the summer, and they just bought a snowmobile.
Yeah.
So I was like, you could 100% afford Cutco, but like you're blowing your money on things that aren't gonna last for the next forever.
Right.
And I was just like, that's funny. I'm like, if we actually did an appointment though, I guarantee they would buy Cutco. And they'd probably buy a big ass set because he has a propensity, as he just demonstrated, to spend money on stuff that he feels excited about. He's just looking at pictures and price, wouldn't be excited about that. But if I sold him on the points, he'd probably buy a lot of stuff. Do you guys get what I'm saying with that? Okay. Again, emphasis on being nice. You already said that. The purpose of the call is to get the appointment, not to sell the product. Underemphasize the product on the phone will actually create more excitement in person. So if someone's like, what's Cutco? I'm like, it's mostly stuff for the kitchen. But like I said, I get pages to show it. So it's 6 or 4 that'd be better for you. Like, I undersell the product on the phone versus like, Cutco, it's awesome! Because if I'm doing that, then it's like setting an expectation. And they're like, they don't want it, and you're also selling. Because you're like selling how awesome the product is. I don't want to sell. I just want to come over to do a presentation. Right? And the way to do that is undersell the product, and like it's all about helping me out versus that. So we flip it over. Here again, here is the approach that I would use. Okay, and this is what I actually used back in the day. So let's say let's say I did an appointment. I'm gonna write this down so I can keep this kind of straight. So let's say I did an appointment for Jill, and she recommended me to Shauna. Right? Sometimes you get recommended to people's names that you're not sure how to say. Right? Here's what I can tell you. If you can't say the last name, say the first name. If you can't say the first name, say the last name. If you're not sure, just give it your best shot, because the bottom line is they've had their name screwed up before. So you won't be the first person, right? So just say it with this. Now, when I make calls, I'd have this on my face, which is a smile, because my voice changes dramatically when it's like this versus like this, right? So it would sound something like this. So again, Jill recommended me to Sean. Okay. Hi, is Shauna there? Hi Shauna, this is Chris Naku. You actually don't know me personally, but I was at your friend Jill's house the other day, and we were talking, and your name came up. Did she actually happen to mention that I might be giving you a call? No? Okay, no worries. She actually thought you might be nice enough to help me out with something. Now, I'm currently attending school at UW Oshkosh, and I'm working with a company in Brookfield to help get some business experience and just help pay for school. Also, the company I'm working for offers a series of scholarships for the students that work here, and I'd really like to earn one. My job, simply to show products to people and get their opinion on them, which is great, because you don't even have to worry about buying anything, and as a matter of fact, you don't even need to be interested in the product, because I get paid just to show it. But more importantly, I get credit towards my scholarship each time I do a showing, and that's why Jill thought you might be nice enough to help me out. Actually, I have to do, it says 15 to 20, but I would put whatever your goal is, right? 5 to 10, 10 to 15, whatever, a week just to qualify for the scholarship. Now, I'm going to be in your area on Saturday, so I want to know if I could come by at either 2 or 4 o'clock, which would be better for you. Again, that's where you want to have those times penciled out versus being like, what about Saturday? Saturday we're busy with the kids. That's why they're busy with the kids soccer tournament from 10 to 4, but you didn't ask for 6 because you just were lazy or whatever. Okay. I was going to be in your area at this time. Again, we said that. So after you get the appointment, right, they'd say something like, sure, 4 o'clock. I'd say, thank you so much, Mrs. Johnson. Again, Shauna, I really appreciate your time. I'm really busy, so I won't take long, but each showing gets me closer to my goal. Could you just grab a pen and just jot down, my name is Chris. Again, the appointment's going to be Saturday at 6 o'clock, and I drive a black car so you can recognize me when I arrive. And one last thing, I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but if you just take a penny to the fridge, I'll totally explain why I get there. Okay? Awesome. Thank you so much. I know this doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but it really means the world to me. So again, thank you so much. Bye. Click. Now, a couple things with that. When you read through this, you want to go through and go, okay, where would it make sense to put like word emphasis on?
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't have to be interested because
Yeah.
their objection is going to be, I wouldn't really be interested in that. Again, it's never about them being interested. It's would you be nice enough to help me out? Like Jill said, you are a nice person, right? You also want to know the relationship between Jill and Shauna, because if Shauna is really Jill's sister, you wouldn't want to be like, yeah, your friend, you mean my sister? You clearly don't know Jill very well, and she really,
Yeah.
right? So you want to understand those things. So these are like all reasons why you want to like learn stuff about it when you're getting recommendations, right? What else? I like to insert something. My objective on the phone was really simple, was to get them to smile and laugh within the first like 30 seconds on the phone. Okay, so here's how I did that. Okay, is again, do you guys remember what we talked about in training? You probably don't remember this, but do you remember what we talked about? What's the purpose of an appointment? It's okay if you forgot. I'll remind you because it's a good thing to say. Again, the purpose of the appointment. That's okay. The purpose of the appointment again is to remind people what life could be about. Okay, so I'd rather set that tone like on the phone than wait for the demo, because if I don't do that on the phone, they might not want to ever get to the appointment because they're like, I don't want to hear about knives before you guys. No shit, no one wants to hear that, right? So again, what I don't want to do is get them smiling, which is I like to make people smile, right? So I would say, hi, is Shauna there? Hi Shauna, this is Chris Naku. I was actually over at your sister Jill's house the other day. We were talking, and your name came up. She actually thought you might be nice enough to help me out with something. So I like to pause because they'll usually say like, oh, what's that? Like if I just try to like railroad through them, that's not good. I want to make this like more of a back and forth. So I need to pause to let them speak, right? Oh, okay. I'd say, yeah, so I'm studying, I have this big calculus exam coming up, and she said you could probably help me with that. And I let it go, right? Now, again, being funny is about delivery and it's about timing of stuff, right? So I need to let her process that and respond, not me be like, yeah, I have to wait until she responds. And here's almost every time what would be the response when I said that. They're like, I don't know why she told you that. I'm terrible at math. And I would say, Shauna, everyone's bad at math. I'm just kidding. It's way simpler to help me out. And then they start laughing, right? And they're like, oh my God, because I love it, right? But now I broke think of it like this. I broke their pattern the other day. They got a phone call they weren't expecting, right? That they didn't like request, and I've gotten them laughing within the first 25 seconds of that call. How do you think that call's gonna go the rest of the time?
Right.
It's gonna go a lot better than if I'm like trying to like be like everybody else that would randomly call somebody.
Yeah.
Do you guys get what I'm saying with that? So then it's easier. Like I'm currently, and by the way, I feel good at that point because I got them laughing. I'm already like on a roll.
Break the ice pretty much.
I broke the ice.
Forward, yeah.
Right. I broke the ice. I set the tone. Now this is easy. Okay. So that makes a big difference, right? At the end, I used to say stuff that I knew would get like again, like I don't care how I get people to laugh. I will say corny things if it gets them. What I want them to do ultimately is laugh and smile, even if it's like it's a mercy smile. Have you ever done that? Like you get and then it turns real because like somewhere along the way you're like, why am I? It becomes contagious, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, right? At the end, I used to always like to say, and I would say, here's a penny. I did that, but I also would say occasionally. And I'll be wearing so if you want to just draw a smiley face next to that as well too, because that's what I'll be wearing, so it'll be easy to identify me when I walk up.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid, but again, it gets them to remember me.
Yeah.
And the penny, I had people like, I had a string of probably like 35 appointments that no one rescheduled, no one canceled, no one anything, because it was like, it worked, right? And they had a penny in the fridge. I remember one time they didn't understand it totally. They took the penny and they stuck it in the fridge on a plate.
No.
So like they came over and like this little kid was like, they were so cute. They're like, what's he gonna do? Right there, they didn't know like what's he gonna do. And they brought this penny. It was like on a plate in the fridge for like 3 days. And like, and it was like cold. I'm like,
Oh, that's so cute.
and they're like, right. And I was like, it's
my
over,
gosh.
right?
Yeah.
So, but you guys, so
Yeah.
that's really simple, right? Again, if they're saying this stuff, here's how you handle objections. If they're saying this stuff, what are you selling? Again, I always turn into what. So if someone ever says, "What are you selling?" Like, because they're probably like, So if anyone reacts poorly, it's not because of you, it's because of a past experience that
Yep.
makes them act like that. It's a learned behavior.
Yep.
So I need to disarm them. So if they were saying, "Hey, what are you selling?" I'd say, "What am I showing?" It's called Cutco. Have you ever heard of it? Yeah or no, right? No? Okay. It's mostly stuff for the kitchen. I'm sure you already have tons of stuff for the kitchen, but like I said, I get credit just for showing it. So would 6 or 4:30 on Saturday be better for you? Right? I already own Cutco. Great. How long have you had it for? How's it working for you? Well, that's nice. I still get credit for my scholarship and paid as well for showing. Plus, it goes quicker if you already know what Cutco is. Right? So I'm selling them on the benefit of that. And if they say I'm busy, I completely understand. I'm really busy as well, and I can be in and out in 20 minutes. If you can squeeze me in, that would still really help. And I'd really appreciate it.
But that's not true. We couldn't be
Sure it
in
is.
20 minutes.
Sure you could. You can move. You can just go through stuff a lot faster. By the way, here's what I'll tell you is, if they let you in for 20 minutes, if they like what you have to say,
Then they'll let you in
keep
for longer,
talking.
yeah.
If that, right? But
That's true.
they're afraid of you coming in and being there for an hour and a half and talking
Yeah.
nonsense and wasting their time.
Mm, yeah.
Again, if the purpose of the appointment is to remind people what life's about, that's not hard for me to go in and do that to make them have a good time.
Yeah.
That's actually easy, right? So most likely I'm going to be more entertaining or enjoyable than other things they might otherwise be doing.
Yeah,
Do you guys
true.
get what I'm saying with that? But then you
Yeah.
also have to back that up. Because if you go in there and you're life sucking,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a hard time getting recommendations anyway. Like
Yeah.
the way to get recommendations and like always have the option to keep doing this is be awesome and be you,
Mhm.
right? But that starts in the phone, so it sets
For
the
sure.
tone. There was plenty of times when I got there, they'd be like, "Are you Chris?" Like, or they'd be like, "Hi, Chris." They'd be like, "Hi, Nancy," right? But it was
Yeah.
already like a playful way versus that.
Right.
And it's not like I'm not flirting with moms when I'm 20 years old.
Right.
But it's just
yeah.
a playful energy. And like the fact is, they probably don't have a lot of playful energy in their lives anymore because as you get
Mhm.
older, there's less playfulness, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's good to have playfulness. Do
Yeah.
you guys get what I'm saying
Yeah.
with that? So, questions with that?
No.
People ask what Cutco is sometimes. Like, oh, what's Cutco? Or no, I don't say it. I don't know what. Do you say Cutco? I forget. I just read it off.
So Cutco's in the approach. Yeah, it's like, what's Cutco? It's a bunch of stuff for the kitchen. And I'm sure you have tons of stuff. I'm sure you have tons of stuff for the kitchen. It'd actually be weird if you didn't. Well, like I said, I get pages to show it to you. So it's 6 or 4:30 better for time for you to stop by on Monday. Now, also too, when you're going through your schedule, thank you for kind of jogging this for me. What I would always do is, look, I would go at least 3 days in advance of booking my schedule of when I wanted to do appointments, and I'd always ask for that first day first. And if someone's like, I can't do Saturday, that doesn't mean they can't do an appointment. Where I hear a lot of reps, what they do is they go, oh, okay. Just because they said they can't do it Saturday, it doesn't mean they can't do it Sunday, it doesn't mean they can't do it Monday, so I'd
Yeah.
go that. But I want to keep re-emphasizing why I'm calling in the first place, which again is like I said, I get paid just to show it.
Mhm.
So how does Sunday look? Because I still need to do 5 appointments. How does Sunday look? Would 4 or 6 o'clock be better for you?
Yeah.
We still got that. Now also when they say like I have something going on, what I would used to do is there's 2 ways I can say this, right? What do you have going on? Or I'd say, oh, what do you have going on?
Yeah.
Right? With my voice inflection going up. And when I would do that, what would happen is they would tell me what's going on. They're like, oh, we have kids soccer. So I'm like, oh, that's awesome. What does he play? I don't know anything about soccer, but I'm asking questions and I'm building rapport. So I know that about them, right? I go, that's awesome. So when I go over there, I'm like, how did Sally's game go?
Yeah.
Now I have something to talk about because rapport, like when someone gives you an objection, that's just an opportunity to build more rapport to like overcome it versus being like, oh, I can't do it. And they don't ask because like, well, they said I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Why couldn't
Right.
they do an appointment? I don't know, I didn't ask. Why did you not ask? They said
Yeah.
they were going to be out of town. Did you ask for how long they're going to be out of town? No. Why did you not ask when, like, that's when, like, they get back on Monday. Awesome. You know, like I said, I need to do 10 appointments, but I need to do 10 appointments next week too. So how does Tuesday at noon or like 2 o'clock work? Like, I would keep going for it. And again, my voice, my energy doesn't go down. I'm not like, oh, Tuesday doesn't work. Oh, okay, you can't. I'm like, I'm still energetically pursuing the appointment.
Mm.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Questions, more questions.
Yeah, so when I've made calls, so many people are always just like, oh, I'm so busy, and that totally makes sense. But sometimes people are like, my father's in the hospital all week, and so I gotta go visit him. So when they have a legit excuse, how do you like turn that around and be like, well, that's okay. How about another time or whatever?
Yeah, so I think you gotta again go back to building rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Sally really liked the presentation. I'm sure you will too. I'm sorry, like sometimes people give you stuff like my dad's in the hospital, right? So it's like that's again not probably an ideal time to call
Right.
or like do an appointment. But the fact is, life keeps going. It's not like they're not going to work. It's not like they're not feeding their kids. It's not like they're still not doing
Yeah.
stuff, right? That's just the thing that's going on. But like, you probably get that 1 out of 50 calls that someone says like something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Right.
So that's like the exception to the rule. But most times it's
Okay.
like when someone says they're busy, it's because you haven't broken down their schedule and you
Yeah.
haven't asked for specific times. Because if I was like that detailed, I'm like, no problem, I'm really busy too. So Saturday doesn't sound like it would work. What about Sunday? Because I can still do appointments on Sunday. How about like 10, or would something later and maybe better for you, like 4?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I'm giving them ranges so they can kind of pick like, oh, we're still out of town. Okay, no worries. Like I said, I still need to do 5 appointments to qualify for my scholarship. So how about Monday at this time? And I just walk through my schedule each day
Mhm.
until I can't do it. If it's going like 5 or 6 days, I might say, Sally, you are busy. Ha! Right, and like go with it. Be like, tell you what, I'm gonna make it a point to give you a call back because you sound like a lot of fun on this day. Would that sound better for you?
Mm-hmm.
But that'd be my last
Right.
source.
Last ditch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because again, when people say they're busy, it's because you haven't like explored what they're busy. So if you get if you get curious and compassionate about somebody, like
Yeah.
getting curious is a good thing. That's why like when you're curious as a kid, you get like inquisitive, right? You're like, oh, why?
Mhm.
But you weren't like, why, Dad? You're like, why? And you want to know stuff, right? So I'm just like, oh, what do you have going on? My voice naturally goes up because I'm like, right, versus being like, oh, what do you have going on? Like, why are
Yeah.
you being creepy, dude? Stop that, right?
Right.
And usually, specifically dudes, your voice inflection should be higher, right? Like if you're normally here, if you're normally talking at this level, you call someone like this, it's probably not going to be a great call because too, girls are always so women are typically in a place. Feminine energy is always worried about their surroundings and they're like, Sarah, when was the last time you worried about your environment? Like you felt unsafe?
Unsafe?
Yeah, like unsafe or like uncertain of something.
Oh, I don't know, probably the other day. It happens a lot.
The other day, right? And when was the last time you felt unsafe in your environment? Weeks, months, right? So my point is if you call like really masculine energy, that's not gonna go well, especially if you get the guy on the phone, you're like, hey, is your wife there? He's gonna be like, who the hell is this?
Yeah, true.
So you never want to have that energy. It's always like, hi, is this like, I have no problem going through a husband because I just like, I just become like energetic and inquisitive, which is more of a feminine energy anyway. So I'm like, hi, is Mrs. Johnson there? I have very, very few problems getting through the guy to get to the girl.
Yeah.
Also, too, I'm making her comfortable with high energy, not like high masculine energy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
There's a time and place for that, and that's not on a phone like trying to get an appointment. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Because it's like,
Yeah.
if she's just there by herself and you're a dude, she doesn't know you're coming there, you're inviting in her to your house, that already could potentially be kind of like,
Yeah.
what's he gonna do?
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying with that? So that's probably why sometimes if you're like, that could be a reason why people cancel appointments, because you're like, hey, so like, dude, you don't need to, yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Any other questions?
I mean, it kind of explains it right here. Like, I already own Cutco. Like, a lot of people like do say like, I've already had the prison. Like, someone come and give me the presentation.
Yeah. So you guys are getting the point too. Like, you can say this and this works, right? But here's where you get to the point where you really want to get to is, hey, you know what? Great, you've owned Cutco. How long have you had it for? I don't know, like 8 to 10 years. Awesome. Did you know that you actually do probably for a service call? We recommend getting your stuff sharpened every 8 to 10 years. So I could actually, instead of just like coming to do a presentation, I could actually come up and like touch up your stuff, and that would go a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Right, so now you're providing value versus asking for something. Now you're doing them a favor. So I would get to the point where you can get certified to get stuff trained. This is what I would use for calling people that you don't know. If you're calling someone that you kind of know, right, it's a simple adjustment. It's from the initial training approach. I'd still use the same thing. But I would just say, hi, is this Mrs. Johnson? Hi, Mrs. Johnson, this is Chris. I don't know if my name rings a bell or not, but I used to play football with your son, Frank. Oh, yeah, I remember you, Chris. How are you? Good. Right, which would be hard for them to remember because it's been a long time, but for you guys, you're not that far away from why they should remember you. Oh, yeah, I remember you. How are you? Good. And then you just go right into the approach.
Yeah.
That's a slight difference. Any other questions?
No. One thing, this is, well, you can help me with this. When I do calls, and this is back to the busyness, people are just like, I've got, 3 jobs, and this one lady I was talking to, she said she had 3 jobs. I was talking with her like, oh, what do you do? What are your jobs?
Yeah.
How's it going for you? Blah, blah, blah. And then I just, at that point, if I keep going like, hey, well, how about this day? How about this day? How about this day? I start to feel bad because I get, it's busy. And so if they're just like, no, it's just, I'm really busy, it's not going to work. And I'm just like, okay, well, what about this? Well, what about this? You know what I mean?
So, yeah, I'd always go back to building rapport first, right?
Yeah.
Because again, the reason why they're like, again, all you're asking for is their time, which they probably have, but they're
Right.
they're busy generically. Generic
Yeah.
is not a specific thing. How many
Yeah.
jobs do you have?
2.
I'm sorry, are you busy and you guys go to school?
Yeah.
So you might actually be busier than her. right? So it's
Yeah.
like she's like, well, because here's what happens. I think when you're 18 and 20, you go, well, they're an adult.
Sure.
Here's what I've learned about adults. They don't like when my friends and I like think farting was funny at 18. Like when someone farts, that's still, guess what? It's still funny now at 36.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm basically our customers at this point. I'm the age where people are like, I'm busy. People still don't have their stuff together when they're 18. Probably
Mhm.
won't have their stuff together when they're 50.
Yeah, sure.
So like the same thing, like I'm busy, just really just means they don't know how to plan their time.
Sure.
Right, so that's why it's important that you can come up with specific times and you say, okay, no worries. By the way, I'm really busy. I totally get it. I actually have 2 jobs and go to school, so I'm trying to balance everything as well. But look, Nancy thought you'd be nice enough to help me out,
Yeah.
and I could be in and out in 20 minutes. So if you could squeeze me in, it would really help.
Mhm.
So is there any way you could like squeeze me in on like Monday at like,
Yeah.
and then I just work with it?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing they're gonna say? They can't say double no.
Right.
Double no. Right? They're not
Yeah.
gonna double know you.
Right.
So it's like again, but I'd rather know if someone's gonna do it or not. So I'm not like spending time calling the same people again and again and wasting my energy on someone that's not gonna pan out. I think if you allow someone to put you off on the phone the first time, they're gonna do that again.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yes,
But
because-
I ended up getting
right,
like going
because-
over there, but I just felt bad because I kept calling over and over again. But
Yeah.
she was
So
always,
here's the
like,
thing that you guys need to get out
being
of, right?
short with me on the phone. I
So,
told you about
so
that.
here's the thing you guys need to do. You need to get off the idea that you're doing something to somebody. You're doing something for somebody, right?
Right.
What I've noticed is again, when you are new, you go from like excited and training, and then you kind of go to this part where you're like, well, now I feel like I'm doing something to like. You start telling yourself a story which isn't accurate at all. Like, why is that true?
Yeah.
Like again, if you're going over there, you're making them laugh, you're making them have a good time. They now don't have to worry about stuff for the the kitchen ever again.
Right.
How is that you did something to them? You did that
Right.
for them.
It's amazing.
Right. So like now you believe that too, but there's another point, like another voice in your head telling you something different. So it's like which one's right. So that's the one you got to focus on. It's like if you go over there, like their life will actually be better.
Mhm.
Like it's one less thing to worry about for the rest of their life. It's done.
Yeah. True.
Right. So it's like it's okay. Like you know you're not gonna go over there and waste their time. You're not gonna like that. So like you should never come from that place of like I don't have value to provide. If you do, that's why you should like that's why you have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.